My name is Emily. I'm 17. And the night everything cracked open started like any other Thursday. Pizza boxes stacked on the coffee table, the TV droning some reality show about house flips, the kind where everyone pretends their fake drama is real life. I was slumped on the couch in my ratty jeans and hoodie, scrolling through my phone, half listening to the chatter. School had been a grind that day. A P-bio test I probably bombed, plus the usual whispers about who hooked up with who at lunch. But at home was supposed to be the soft landing. Or at least, it used to be, before Lisa showed up. Lisa, my dad's new wife. She'd been around for a year now, all sharp smiles and designer scarves, like she stepped out of one of those catalogs Mom used to flip through before the divorce. Dad met her at some work conference, insurance sales, boring as hell, and 6 months later, they were married in a quiet ceremony at the courthouse. No big wedding, just us three, me, Dad, and my little sister Mia, who was 12 and still clinging to her stuffed elephant like it could fix everything. Lisa didn't waste time making it clear where she fit in. "This is our family now," she'd say, her voice sweet but edged, like honey over broken glass. And me? I was the leftover piece, the his from the old marriage, the one she called the guest when she thought I wasn't listening. That night, the pizza was cold, grease congealing on the cardboard. Dad was on his second beer, feet up on the ottoman, laughing at the TV like it was the funniest thing since sliced bread. Mia sat cross-legged on the floor, picking at her pepperoni, her braids swinging as she nodded along to whatever Lisa was saying. Lisa perched on the arm of Dad's chair, one hand on his shoulder, the other gesturing like she owned the room. "So, Emily," she said, turning to me with that tilt of her head, "how was school? Still doodling in your notebooks instead of studying?" I felt the familiar twist in my gut. It wasn't the first time. Lisa had this way of lobbing comments like softballs. Easy to dodge if you weren't paying attention, but they left bruises anyway. Last week, it was about my hair. "Oh, honey, that ponytail makes you look so young, like you're trying too hard not to grow up." The week before, at dinner, she'd sighed over my plate. "Emily, portions. You're not a kid anymore. That belly won't serve you well in college." Mia would giggle nervously. Dad would mumble something about "just teasing," and I'd swallow it down, because what was the point? Arguing made me the difficult one, the girl with the attitude problem from the broken home. But tonight, something in me snapped. Maybe it was the bio test, the way Mr. Hargrove had called me out in front of everyone for spacing out. Or maybe it was Mia's face, how her eyes darted to me every time Lisa spoke, like she was waiting for the next shoe to drop. I set my phone down, the screen still glowing with a text from my best friend Jess about weekend plans. "It was fine," I said, keeping my voice even. "Got a B on that history paper." Lisa's eyebrows arched. "A B? Well, that's something. Your dad was top of his class, you know. Straight A's all through high school." She squeezed his shoulder, and he chuckled, oblivious, cracking open another beer with a hiss that echoed too loud in the room. I stared at her. The words bubbled up before I could stop them, hot and unfiltered. "Yeah, and you're the queen of real estate staging, right? Turning houses into showrooms, but you don't have to stage me out of my own home." The room went still. The TV laugh track blared on, some fake couple high-fiving over a kitchen reno, but it might as well have been static. Mia's fork clattered against her plate. Dad's beer paused halfway to his mouth. Lisa's smile froze, then melted into something sharper, her nails digging into the chair fabric like claws. "Excuse me," she said, voice low, the kind that vibrates in your chest. "You heard me." My heart hammered, but I couldn't stop. It was like I'd been carrying this backpack of rocks for months, and one strap finally gave way. "You call me the guest when I'm upstairs. You move my stuff around like it's clutter. Last night, I heard you tell Dad I act like I own the place." Newsflash. I do. This was my house first. Dad set his beer down hard, foam sloshing over the rim. "Emily, that's enough. Lisa's part of this family now. You can't just... part of it?" I cut him off, swinging my gaze to him. His face was red, not just from the beer, the lines around his eyes deeper than usual. He looked tired, the way he had since Mom left 2 years ago, packing her bags after one too many late nights at the office. "She's not part. She's the one who makes Mia cry in her room because she thinks Lisa hates her too. And me? I'm the challenging teen you all whisper about. But I'm not the one changing the rules." Lisa stood up then, smooth as a shadow, her heels clicking on the hardwood like gunfire. "You're out of line, young lady. I've tried to include you." "Include me?" The laugh that came out was bitter, scraping my throat. "By telling me my clothes are trashy? By hiding my favorite mug because it was Mom's old thing? You're not including, you're erasing." Mia whimpered from the floor, clutching her elephant. "Em, stop, please." But I couldn't. The dam had cracked, and the water was rushing out, cold, relentless, flooding everything. Dad rose too, towering over me even though I wasn't sitting anymore, my fists balled at my sides. "Go to your room, Emily. Now. You're acting like a child." "I'm 17, I shot back, voice cracking just a little. "Not a child, and this isn't acting. It's me finally saying it. She's poison, Dad. She calls me the outsider when you're not around. That girl from the first marriage. Like I'm some stray you picked up." Lisa gasped, hand to her chest, eyes wide like I'd slapped her. "You did," I said, turning on her. "Last week, in the kitchen. I heard you on the phone with your sister. Dealing with his ex's baggage? It's exhausting." "That's me. Baggage." Dad's face darkened, thunder rolling in. He stepped between us, his work boots scuffing the rug. "That's it. If you can't respect Lisa, if you can't respect this family, then maybe you need some space. You're almost 18. Figure it out on your own." The words hung there, heavy as smoke. Space. Figure it out. My stomach dropped, a free fall that left me dizzy. Mia's eyes filled with tears, her lip trembling. "Daddy, no, don't make her go." But he didn't look at her. His gaze was locked on me, hard and unyielding, the man who'd once carried me on his shoulders at the county fair, now drawing a line in the sand. "Pack a bag tonight. You can stay with Jess or whoever, but you're out until you cool off." Lisa touched his arm, soft, soothing. "Honey, maybe tomorrow—" "No," he said, shaking his head. "She needs to learn. Actions have consequences." Consequences. The word echoed in my head, sharp as a slap. I wanted to scream, to grab Mia and run, to shatter the illusion that this was still a home, but all I did was nod, numb, the fight draining out like air from a punctured tire. Upstairs, in my room, the one with the posters peeling at the edges and the desk scarred from years of homework, I shoved clothes into my backpack. Jeans, hoodies, the sketchpad I'd been filling with half-formed drawings of fractured houses. Mia slipped in, whispering, "Don't go. I'll tell her to stop." I hugged her tight, her hair smelling like strawberry shampoo and fear. "It's okay, Bug. I'll call you every day." But even as I said it, I knew it was a lie. Nothing was okay. Downstairs, Dad waited by the door, keys jingling in his pocket like a warning. Lisa hovered behind, arms crossed, her perfume, something floral and cloying, hanging in the air like a fog. "We'll talk when you're ready to apologize," he said, not meeting my eyes. Apologize. For what? For existing? For reminding him of the wife who'd left? I slung my bag over my shoulder, the strap biting into my skin, and stepped out into the night. The screen door slapped shut behind me, a final punctuation. Crickets chirped in the yard, the streetlights buzzing faintly, casting long shadows on the driveway. Jess's house was 3 miles away, too far to walk, but I did it anyway. The gravel crunching under my sneakers, each step a hammer to my chest. Before I get into what they started saying about me to everyone, how they spun it like I was the villain, and what Mia told me in those secret texts that kept me up at night, tell me what time it is, where you are, and where you're hearing this from. I need to know how far this story of getting kicked out and clawing your way back can echo, from my suburb in Ohio to wherever you are. The first night at Jess's was a blur of borrowed pajamas and her mom's pitying hugs. "You can stay as long as you need, sweetie." But as long as you need turned into weeks. School kept me going, sliding into my desk like nothing had changed, ignoring the stares when word got out. Kids whispered, "Heard Emily's dad booted her for being a brat." By Monday, it was full-blown. My aunt called, voice tight. "Your father's saying you stormed out over nothing, that you refused to follow house rules." House rules. Like the new one Lisa made about no negativity at dinner. Or the one where my bedroom door had to stay open so she could check on things. I laughed into the phone, but it came out hollow. Nothing? He chose her over me. Aunt Karen sighed, the sound crackling through the line. Families are complicated, Em. Give it time. Time. That's what everyone said. Time to cool off, time to apologize, but time just sharpened the edges. I couch surfed after Jess's mom hinted it was getting crowded. Then the school counselor hooked me up with the dorm at the community center, government funded for kids like me on the edge, a squat brick building behind the high school painted institutional beige, the kind of place that smelled like bleach and microwave burritos no matter what time of day. My room was barely bigger than a closet. Single bed with a thin mattress that creaked every time I rolled over, metal desk bolted to the wall, one narrow window that looked out on a chain-link fence, and the back parking lot of a dollar store. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead like a trapped fly. I hated it instantly, but the lock on the door worked, and that small click when I turned the deadbolt felt like armor. School became my only constant. I showed up early, sat in the back, kept my head down. Teachers asked gentle questions. "Everything okay at home, Emily?" And I gave them the rehearsed line. "Just staying with friends for a bit. Family stuff." They nodded, wrote me late passes, slipped me granola bars from their desk drawers like secret apologies. Classmates were less kind. The rumor mill had already churned. Emily got kicked out for mouthing off. Emily's too much drama. Emily thinks she's better than everyone. I heard it in snippets between lockers, in the bathroom line, in the way conversations hushed when I walked by. I stopped eating in the cafeteria. Too many eyes. Mia's messages kept coming. Small bombs dropped into my phone at random hours. 11:47 p.m. M. Lisa took my phone for an hour 'cause I left dishes in the sink. Said, "I'm turning into you?" 3:19 a.m. Voice note, her voice tiny and wet. "She yelled at me tonight. Said if I don't shape up, I'll end up like my sister, sleeping on couches. I miss you so much it hurts." I listened to that one on repeat until the battery died, curled under the thin dorm blanket that smelled faintly of someone else's laundry detergent. Each word carved deeper. Mia wasn't dramatic. She was terrified, and the fear in her voice was the same one I'd carried for months, the fear of being the next one erased. I started saving everything. Not out of revenge, not at first, just survival. Every text she sent, I screenshot. Every voice note, I downloaded to a hidden folder labeled M. When she called crying because Lisa had accidentally thrown away her favorite sketchbook, she said it was clutter, M, just like yours. I recorded the call. Her sobs filled the tiny room, bouncing off the cinder block walls. I whispered back, "I'm here, Bug. I'm listening. Keep talking. I need to hear it all." Then came the group texts. Dad had added me back to the family chat, probably for optics. Photos started popping up. Him and Lisa at a steakhouse, clinking wine glasses. Mia in the background, forced smile, eyes red. Caption, "Family night out." Another one, Lisa holding up a new throw pillow for the couch, pastel blue. "Fresh start vibes." No mention of me, no "wish you were here." Just absence, polished and posted for likes. One night, around midnight, my phone lit up with a new voice message from the family number. I almost didn't play it, thought it was a pocket dial. But I did. Dad's voice, low, tired, talking to Lisa in the background hum of the kitchen fan. "She's fine wherever she is. Jess's mom said she's got a place. Probably better this way. Less tension." Lisa's laugh, soft and satisfied. "Honestly, it's quieter without the attitude. Mia's starting to behave now that she sees what happens when you don't follow the rules." A pause. The clink of dishes. Dad. "Yeah, Emily always pushed back. Like her mother. Drama follows those two." Lisa. "Exactly. Good riddance to the headache. We can focus on us now. On Mia. She'll be better off without the example." The message cut off. My thumb hovered over replay. I hit it again. And again. Each time the words landed heavier, like stones dropping into still water, ripples spreading until my whole chest ached. Good riddance. Headache. Better off without the example. I sat on the edge of the bed. Phone clutched so hard the case creaked. Tears came hot and fast, the kind that burn your eyelids. Not just for me, for Mia, who was now the only target left in the crosshairs. For the girl I used to be, who still believed her dad would choose her if she just tried hard enough. That night, I made a new folder. Proof. I transferred everything. Mia's messages, the voice notes, the group chat screenshots, that kitchen recording. I labeled dates, added notes, Lisa admitting she threw away Mia's sketchbook, audio October 14th. Dad calling me a headache, audio October 22nd. Facts, cold, hard, undeniable. I didn't know what I'd do with them yet. I just knew I couldn't let them disappear into the ether like everything else had. The next few weeks were a tightrope walk. I went to school, worked part-time at the coffee shop down the street, 4 hours after classes, steaming oat milk, wiping counters, smiling at customers like my life wasn't unraveling. Money went straight to the dorm fee, bus pass, and the occasional cheap takeout so I wouldn't starve. Sleep came in fragments. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. replaying conversations, heart racing like I'd been running. Mia's messages grew more desperate. Lisa locked my door from the outside tonight because I talked back. Said I need to learn respect. I'm scared. I heard them talking about sending me to that strict summer camp next year, the one with no phones. They said it's to fix my attitude. I miss Mom sometimes, even though she left. At least she never locked doors. That one broke something in me. I hadn't thought about Mom in months. Not really. She'd moved to Colorado after the divorce, started over with a new job, new boyfriend, occasional postcards with mountain views and vague promises to visit. I used to resent her for leaving us behind. Now I wondered if she'd seen the same storm coming and just ran faster. I called the school counselor, Mrs. Delgado, on a Tuesday during lunch. She ushered me into her office, closed the door, offered me a tissue even though I wasn't crying yet. "Emily, what's going on?" I laid it out. Calm, no hysterics. The kicking out, the comments, Mia's messages, the recording of Dad and Lisa. I played the kitchen one on speaker, volume low. Mrs. Delgado's face changed with every sentence, concern to alarm to something harder. "This is serious," she said when it ended. "This isn't just family conflict. This is emotional abuse, possibly escalating. We need to report it." I nodded. My hands were shaking, but my voice stayed steady. "I want to protect Mia. I don't care what happens to me anymore." She made the call right there, to Child Protective Services, explained the situation, mentioned the recordings as evidence. They asked for copies. I emailed them from her office computer. Every file, every timestamp, every sob. That afternoon, 2 caseworkers showed up at the house. I wasn't there. I was at the coffee shop frothing milk, but Mia texted me in real time, panicked fragments. "They're here. Dad looks mad. Lisa's crying. They're asking about you. They want to talk to me alone. They asked if I feel safe." Later, after they left, "They're coming back tomorrow. Dad said I can't tell anyone what happened. But I told them everything, Em. I told them about the door, about the yelling, about how Lisa said you were a bad influence." My shift ended at 8. I walked home in the dark, streetlights buzzing overhead, the cold biting through my hoodie. When I got to the dorm, my phone was blowing up. Not just Mia, but Aunt Karen, Jess, even one from Dad I almost deleted without reading. His text, "What the hell did you do? CPS is here because of you. You're tearing this family apart." I stared at the screen until it blurred. Then I typed back one line. "I'm not the one who started the tearing." I hit send and turned my phone off. The darkness settled in after that. Not like sleep, not like passing out, just a heavy, suffocating quiet where every sound felt too loud and every silence felt like judgment. I stopped going to the coffee shop for a few days, called in sick, lay on the bed staring at the ceiling cracks that looked like lightning, replayed every moment I could have said something sooner, every time I swallowed the hurt to keep the peace. Wondered if Mia would hate me for dragging her into this. Wondered if Dad would ever look at me again without seeing a problem he wished would disappear. But the recordings were still there. The facts didn't vanish when I closed my eyes. They waited, patient and cold, for someone to finally listen. And someone did. The call from Mrs. Delgado came 2 days later, while I was wiping down the espresso machine at the coffee shop, the steam wand hissing like it was angry at the world. My phone buzzed in my apron pocket. I stepped into the back hallway, past the sacks of beans and the flickering exit sign, and answered. "Emily, it's Mrs. Delgado. CPS followed up. They interviewed Mia separately at school today. She confirmed everything you sent. The yelling, the locked door, the comments about you. They're classifying this as emotional abuse and possible neglect. They're issuing an emergency safety plan. Mia's being placed with your Aunt Karen temporarily, starting tonight. Your dad and Lisa have to attend mandatory parenting classes and counseling. No contact with Mia unsupervised until the court hearing. I leaned against the cold cinder block wall, the phone pressed so hard to my ear it hurt. Is she okay? She's scared, but she's brave. She asked them to make sure you could visit. They said yes. Supervised at first, but yes. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the gritty floor, knees to my chest. Relief hit like a wave, then guilt, then something sharper. Anger that had been simmering so long it felt like part of my heartbeat. They'd finally listened, but only because I'd forced the evidence into their hands, only because Mia had repeated the words I'd recorded. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat cross-legged on the dorm bed, laptop open, transferring every file to a USB drive. I labeled it, Evidence Emily Carter. Then I made 3 copies, one for Mrs. Delgado, one for Aunt Karen, one I kept in the bottom of my sock drawer, wrapped in an old t-shirt like contraband. The first supervised visit was set for Saturday at the Family Resource Center, a bland government building with beige carpets and posters about healthy communication. I arrived 20 minutes early, wearing the only nice sweater I still owned, hair pulled back so I looked less like the runaway they'd painted me as. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Aunt Karen brought Mia in first. My sister looked smaller somehow, braids tighter, eyes bigger, clutching the stuffed elephant she hadn't carried in public since she was 9. When she saw me, she ran. I dropped to my knees and caught her, burying my face in her hair. It still smelled like strawberry shampoo, but fainter now, like the scent was fading with everything else. I told them, she whispered against my shoulder. I told them everything. I'm sorry it took so long. You did good, Bug. You did so good. Aunt Karen stood back, arms folded, eyes wet. She didn't say much, just squeezed my shoulder when Mia finally let go. We're keeping her safe. That's what matters. Then they brought Dad in. He looked older. Gray at the temples I hadn't noticed before, shoulders hunched like he was carrying something invisible. Lisa wasn't with him. The caseworker said separate sessions for now. He sat across the low table from me, hands clasped tight, knuckles white. Mia stayed close to Aunt Karen, watching him like he might disappear. The caseworker, a woman named Ms. Rivera, calm voice, clipboard in hand, started. This is a mediated conversation. Goal is understanding, not blame. Emily, you can begin. I looked straight at him. No script, just truth. I didn't run away, I said. You told me to leave. You chose her over me, and then you let her turn the house into a place where Mia cries herself to sleep. I heard it all. Every word you said when you thought I was gone. Dad's jaw tightened. Emily, we were trying to... No. My voice came out steady, louder than I expected. No more trying. I have proof. I recorded the things you said, the good riddance, the headache, the part where Lisa said Mia would be better off without my example. I sent it to CPS. That's why they're here. That's why Mia's not living with you right now. His face went pale. He glanced at Ms. Rivera, then back at me. You recorded us? In our own house? I recorded what I needed to protect my sister, because you wouldn't. Silence stretched, thick and ugly. Mia sniffled. Aunt Karen rubbed her back in slow circles. Dad rubbed his face with both hands, like he could scrub the moment away. When he spoke again, his voice was rough, cracked. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Lisa, she pushes. Yeah, she's got strong opinions. I thought if I backed her up, things would settle. I thought you'd come around. Apologize. Come home. I wasn't the one who needed to apologize, I said. I needed you to see me. Not as baggage, not as drama, as your daughter. He looked at Mia then. Really looked. She wouldn't meet his eyes. She stared at her elephant's worn ear instead. I messed up, he said quietly. The words sounded foreign in his mouth, like he'd never practiced them. I chose peace over what was right. I let her take the lead because it was easier. I told myself you were old enough to handle it, that Mia would be fine. I was wrong. Ms. Rivera nodded. Acknowledging that is a start. but words aren't enough. There's court-ordered counseling, parenting classes, supervised visits only until the judge reviews progress. Dad swallowed hard. I'll do it. All of it. He looked at me again, eyes red. I'm sorry, Em. I should have protected you both. I didn't. I didn't say, I forgive you. I wasn't ready. Maybe I never would be. But I nodded once. Prove it. Not to me, to her. I tilted my head toward Mia. He reached across the table, slow, like he expected me to pull away. I didn't. His hand covered mine, warm, calloused from years of gripping steering wheels and tools. He didn't squeeze, just rested there. A small, trembling bridge. After the session, Ms. Rivera pulled me aside. You did the hardest part, speaking up with evidence instead of anger. That recording didn't just protect Mia, it forced accountability. You should be proud. Proud. The word felt strange. I'd spent so long feeling ashamed of my anger, of my attitude, of taking up space. Now the shame was shifting to them, and that shift left room for something else. Not happiness, not yet, but clarity. That night I sat on my dorm bed again, USB drive in my palm. I didn't need to listen anymore. The words had done their job. I opened my sketchpad instead, the one I'd barely touched since I left home. My pencil moved slow at first, hesitant lines, then faster. A fractured house, doors hanging off hinges. A girl standing outside, arms crossed, looking back at the lit windows. Not running, just standing, watching. I drew until my hand cramped. When I finished, I taped the page to the wall above my desk. No title, just the truth in black and gray. The next morning, Mia texted from Aunt Karen's house. They're going to therapy. Dad cried last night, like really cried. I've never seen him do that. I typed back, good. Let him feel it. You don't have to fix him. Just stay safe. She sent a heart emoji. Then, can we draw together again? When I see you? Yeah, bug. We'll draw whatever we want. I set the phone down and looked at the sketch on the wall. The girl outside the house didn't look scared anymore. She looked steady, ready. They thought they'd silenced me by pushing me out. They thought the quiet would make me disappear. But silence isn't empty. It's where the truth gathers strength. And when it finally speaks, calm, clear, backed by proof, it doesn't need to shout. It just needs to be heard. The months after the Family Resource Center meeting didn't feel like healing, at least not the soft, cinematic kind where everyone hugs and cries and the music swells. It felt more like rebuilding a house after a fire. Slow, dusty work, charred beams pulled out one by one, new ones measured and nailed in place while the wind still smelled faintly of smoke. Mia stayed with Aunt Karen for 6 months while the court reviewed progress reports. Dad went to weekly counseling, bringing Mia's favorite blueberry muffins or a new set of colored pencils. He didn't talk much those first few times, just sat there, listening when Mia told him about school, about the drawings she was doing in art club. Once he asked me, quiet, if I was still sketching. I said yes. He nodded like that one word carried more weight than any apology he could have offered. Lisa never came to those visits. The caseworker said she'd opted out of family reconciliation for now. Dad didn't explain, and I didn't ask. Some silences are kinder than explanations. I finished senior year from the dorm, then got accepted to the state university on a partial scholarship, enough to cover tuition if I kept working. The coffee shop promoted me to shift lead. I learned to make latte art that looked like actual leaves instead of blobs. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. No one hovered, no one critiqued my portions or my ponytail. I paid rent on time, bought my own groceries, set my own curfew. For the first time, my life had no footnotes explaining why I wasn't good enough. The drawings kept coming. At first they were angry. Jagged lines, houses split open like cracked eggs, girls standing in doorways with their backs turned. Then they softened. I started a series called After the Door. One piece, a girl sitting on the porch steps of a half-rebuilt house, pencil in hand, drawing the missing wall herself. Another, 2 sisters holding hands in front of a window, light pouring through, no one blocking it. I posted them anonymously on Instagram at first, just to see if they'd breathe outside my notebook. People commented, "This hurts in the best way." I feel seen. Thank you for not making it pretty. The likes didn't matter as much as the messages from strangers who wrote, "I thought I was the only one." I started using my real name after a while, Emily Carter Art. No filters, no apologies. When the university's student gallery had an open call, I submitted 3 pieces from the series. They accepted 2. The opening was small, folding chairs, cheap wine in plastic cups, fluorescent lights. But when I stood in front of my work with my name on the wall tag, something inside me clicked into place. Not forgiveness, not closure, just ownership. This story was mine now, not theirs to rewrite. Dad came to the opening, alone. He stood at the back for a long time, hands in his pockets, staring at the drawing of the girl on the porch steps. When the crowd thinned, he walked over. "It's good," he said. Simple. No excuses attached. I looked at him. Really looked. The gray in his hair had spread. The lines around his eyes were deeper, but his gaze wasn't defensive anymore. Tired, maybe? Regretful? Human. "Thanks," I said. He swallowed. "I'm trying to do better. For Mia. For whatever's left." I nodded. "I see that." He didn't ask for more. Didn't push. Just stood there until the lights flickered, signaling closing time. Then he left quietly, the way he'd started showing up, without fanfare. Mia moved back home eventually, but with rules now. Therapy twice a week, no locked doors, weekly check-ins with the caseworker. She texts me almost every day. Pictures of her new drawings, memes, complaints about algebra. Sometimes she asks if I'm coming over for dinner. I go sometimes, not often. But when I do, I sit at the table and eat without flinching when Lisa speaks. She's quieter now. Smaller, somehow. I don't hate her. I don't forgive her either. I just exist in the same room without shrinking. I still carry the recordings in that hidden folder, untouched. I don't need to play them anymore. They did their job. They forced the truth into the open where it could finally breathe. And once truth gets air, it doesn't need you to keep shouting it. It just keeps being true. I've learned that silence isn't always weakness. Sometimes it's strategy, gathering strength, collecting proof, waiting for the moment your voice can land without being drowned out. But when that moment comes, you don't have to scream. You just have to speak. Clearly. Calmly. With evidence if you have it, with your whole self if you don't. Because the people who tried to make you small never expect you to stand up tall and say, "This is what happened. This is what it cost me. And I'm not carrying it alone anymore." If you've ever been the one told to stay quiet so the family can stay comfortable, if you've ever swallowed hurt to keep someone else from feeling it, hear this. Your voice isn't the problem. It's the solution. And when you finally use it, not in rage, but in truth, it doesn't just change the story. It changes who gets to tell it from now on. That's what waking up really means. Not opening your eyes, opening your mouth, and refusing to close it again.